Okay, I'd like to call this meeting to order. It's the regular meeting for the Planning Commission. It is 5:31 and today is Tuesday, March 3rd. The land that we know as Sequim was once inhabited solely by the first peoples known as the S'Klallam people, represented by the three tribal governments, Lower Elwha S'Klallam, Jamestown S'Klallam, and Port Gamble S'Klallam. We serve as stewards of the land within the city of Sequim with the same care and consideration the S'Klallam tribes has and continues to provide. This acknowledgement is a respect to the S'Klallam people and their history. The Planning Commission serves as an advisory body to the City Council. The purpose of the Planning Commission is to provide guidance and direction for Sequim's future growth through continued review and improvement to Sequim's comprehensive plan, zoning code, shoreline management, environmental protection, and related land use documents. The Planning Commission will have all of the powers and perform each and all of the duties specified by Chapter 35A.63 RCW as amended and set forth or amended by ordinance. Roll call. Emily, will you please take roll call, noting that we have two excused absences tonight, Commissioner Lefevre and Commissioner Cummings.
Yes, absolutely. Commissioner Kuntz.
Present.
Commissioner Fain. Commissioner Hable.
Here.
Commissioner Hewitt.
Present.
Commissioner Mihalik.
Present.
Thank you.
Thank you. Let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. Approval of minutes. This will be for the minutes for the February 17th, 2026 meeting. Has the commission had a chance to review the minutes? And I see one commissioner that would like to say something. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think in the roll call, you have Commissioner Cummings listed as the vice chair. And I think she was the chair.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other corrections? Okay, so can we get a motion?
To approve with the correction noted.
Okay, can we get a second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor, please raise your hand. Okay, thank you. Minutes are approved with the correction. Thank you. Public comment. General public comment will be heard at this time. Each person is limited to 3 minutes. Not seeing anybody in the room to provide public comment. Emily, is there anybody online?
No one online.
Okay, so we will close the public comment section of this meeting and we will move on to general business. And the first item that we have for general business is the 2025 Comprehensive Plan Status Update.
All right. Well, as usual, I'll make this short and sweet, but in that we're still on track as the schedule it's been laid out. I noted last meeting that there was a few kind of adjustments that we made in late April and May due to the 30-day comment period that's needed for the SCIS. So none of that has been changed. I did want to note though on our next meeting in March. So that's March 17th. I had noted in here draft capital facility plan if ready. It will not be ready. So I think it would be helpful to get a little bit of feedback from the commission if we wanted to take a break at that meeting. But Travis and I can also come up with an idea as well. So if you feel comfortable canceling that meeting and taking a break, knowing that we'll loop back in starting in April, but as I said, we do have an idea that we can talk about and see if we can be ready for it as well. So your preference.
Okay, so is it your idea? Does it?
We can tell you what our idea is.
Yeah, let's hear the idea.
Not to leave it secret. As you know, the Title 18, which is the zoning ordinance, is the next body of work that we're working on, and that will be released at the time of that we start the kind of the renewed public process with the comprehensive plan. So Travis has been working very diligently on it. Once we started the Title 17 process with you, he's been working on Title 18. We can bring forward a chapter, the residential chapter, where there will be similar to Title 17, some substantive changes to help remove barriers for housing, and a lot of administrative and clarifications. And we can kind of just give you an overview of that particular chapter, which we feel like is one of the more important chapters. So we could be ready for that. We also can embed that into the review in April if you wanted a break. You guys have been meeting diligently for over a year. So it's up to you.
Okay, thank you. If we did skip the next meeting in March, would it put us behind on our timeline at all?
Absolutely not.
Okay. Does the commission have any thoughts on that? Yes.
I won't be able to attend that meeting anyway, so I would vote for suspend the meeting. I mean, if there's not anything urgent, and go for it.
Okay. All right. So, yeah, I would say go ahead and suspend the meeting. If that sounds like that's what the commission is in agreement with. And then if something changes and something comes up, maybe, give us a good
We'll let
good
you. I'm sorry.
amount of notice.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Anything else on the update? Okay. So now we'll move on to the next order of business, which is the future land use map overview and check-in.
Yes. So we have, I think the last time we talked about this was October of 2025. So it's been a minute. And as we are getting days and days closer to actually the public release, this is kind of the last pre-public release conversation that we can have regarding the future land use map, some site-specific rezones, and then or redesignations, and then what kind of the impacts that we are proposing for the zoning codes as would be reflected with the redesignations as well. So I'll let Emily yeah, bring the PowerPoint up, please. And I guess while we're waiting for that, there is a draft of the map behind you guys. So there's a big printout there. So that is kind of what we're thinking the future land use map will look like. It is let's say a much better looking map than the one we currently have. So we're excited about that. Yeah, thank you, Scott. But yeah, so we'll get right into it. So today, again, we're going to check on, or just kind of give an update of the Planning Commission redlined version draft, where it lives, where you can see it, the future land use zoning maps, and specifically some site redesignation requests. So you can honestly go to the next slide even. Okay, so there we go. The draft comp plan. So that is the work that you guys have spent the last year on. The PC redlined version is completed. It reflects the commission's extensive work in 2025. Each chapter was reviewed in detail on a chapter by chapter basis, and we spent a lot of time on that. So that is where all the color coding of the edits will live. And so you can see kind of the work that was done. You can go to the next slide and kind of who made those comments. In order to see as mentioned, public release will be April 2026. So that'll include all the other things that we're working on as well. But if you want to see the draft plan, it is available on the city's webpage. You can just search 2025 Comprehensive Plan Update, and you will be able to find the full draft plan there. And we don't need that bullet on the. Yeah. All right. So So anyway, any questions on the comp plan update, the red line version?
I just wanted to add, sorry, Karen,
That's
go
okay.
ahead.
No, go ahead.
Okay, sorry, Travis. I did just want to add that when we'll take out all the color coding. So when we release the plan as part of going through the public engagement and public hearing process, it'll be a clean version of it. So it's not that this plan will go away, it will still stay on the website, but moving forward, what you will see is the clean version of it. So I just wanted to make sure that you knew that that color coding will at some point in time stop being color coded and we'll have a clean version.
This map is pretty effective. And what I would like to see, and this is a tough one, we're proposing some pretty significant changes to densities. This shows densities as they are. What will the impact be to the future layout of some of these vacant parcels with our proposed densities? I'm hearing a lot of criticism about the higher densities, some of which the state mandates. But if you look at this one and you look at how some of these areas are laid out and the open space that if you look down in the corner, there isn't any. There's straight rows of housing.
I'll start.
What
hand it over
what is
to you.
the impact? We're talking small town character, and I don't know if we as a commission understand impacts that we're recommending or that are being forced upon the communities by state mandate. Because some of the neighborhoods will be significantly different based on what we've seen so far.
So I think, yeah, Travis will get to the bulk of that, but I did want to note, and especially for anybody that might be watching this video later, is that we're not proposing as any upzoning other than one unit in the R48 to R49. And that's to align better with a 9-lot short plat. So that's the only upzone, if we want to use that term, and I wouldn't even, it feels more dramatic than what it really is what is changed on this map as well as densities. The other zones like lifestyle district, community mixed use, the opportunity areas, we're not changing density because there's no density requirements, maximum densities today. So there isn't any change happening in what can happen today. The multiplex in the R49 is on the books today as well. That was done a couple years ago. And it's constrained by maximum density. So again, it's one more unit per acre than it currently is allowed to do. I think that sets the premise, and then you can take it from there.
Yeah, and we'll talk about that specifically in this presentation. But I think the biggest difference that you'll see is maybe the housing types. So it may appear that you're getting denser units because you have attached housing, but the premise that we are still following densities as they are today. There will be some slight changes in how we calculate it just to make it clearer on how that's done. But for the most part, it's going to be the equivalent of an additional 1 unit per acre, roughly, is the change that we're proposing, at least in the residential zone, and the other ones aren't being proposed to be changed at all. So the unit types may look different, but with
the exception of ADUs added
Correct.
into it.
Right.
And those were some of the pretty significant changes that can occur.
Yeah, and so the ADUs, even as of today, when we allow 1, it doesn't count towards density, and so the state's mandating we do 2,
right,
which again wouldn't count towards density. So yeah, that will have a visual impact. Lot coverage is still going to be a trigger that we still get to enforce. So we'll have that kind of catch to say, okay, well, you can't build it out that's so dense. But I think, you may see denser units in how they're constructed, But in order to do that, you'll have to have more open space.
Right.
You know, so you may end up with more vacant land because the density calculation will still have to occur.
That, I believe, when you get to the public hearing part of this and when you, even before you open anything up, I think your preamble to let the citizens know, because right now there is a perception that we're going for maximum densities and that we're trying to create a very dense community.
Right.
That's the perception. And maybe it's because of some of the diagrams on the ADUs. I'm not sure, but it is, and I've heard comments like we don't have enough water and we're doing X, Y, and Z, and you've heard the same comments.
Oh yeah.
So
Mhm.
I think it's important as we move forward that we stress we're not trying to negate the
Right.
character of the area, which we haven't really successfully captured in words per se, but we're not going for Seattle densities.
Correct. Right. Yeah, we still get to be squim. So
Right.
like until that day comes that the state mandates that we follow them even further, we still have the ability to be squim. And so
But this map is really important.
Yep.
And it shows what we have right now.
yeah, it's not much different than than the one we've currently got, right? So from that perspective, it is there's going to be it's going to be in the details, right?
Mhm.
As far as like what is maybe the map looks the same, but what does it mean? What's the
Right.
story behind it? So that
Right.
it will be important. And so Title 18 will do a lot of that work. And so I just wrapped, I think, my last chapter I guess Friday, technically. So it is done. And now I'm putting it all together. So that'll be the next big thing that we get to embark on together. Yeah.
I appreciate that. And it, so much of this job, as you know, there's a lot of complexity to our work and the multi-layers, and it's, it can be hard to make sure you have a clear understanding of it, especially when the state has made the mandates that they have. Yeah. So I appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, so I'll kind of give a quick, I guess, the agenda for the future land use map. I'll give you a quick summary. A lot of it is stuff we've discussed already, so I won't spend a whole lot of time on things, but there are some additional slides here that will do a deeper dive on the site specifics, and then there are some new tidbits sprinkled throughout, so we can get right into it. So the first one we've got here is our restricted development. So again, this is just mainly a change of going from the AG, which is our Agricultural Conservancy, Open Space OS, P, which was Park, and then NP, Neighborhood Park, and S, which was schools, and taking and I think it's even SCH, but nonetheless, schools. And we're just going to condense those down to AG, OS, and P. So Agricultural Conservancy will stay AG, Open Space will stay OS, and then the park, neighborhood park, schools, and then all like publicly owned properties, so city owned, county owned, public utility district owned, and even some, I think, WashDOT parcels as well will be placed into a public zone that will, and a public designation, and that will translate also into a public zone. So no real major changes as far as like uses are concerned in these zones, but just a clear path for, what do they have to do to potentially develop in these properties? Because as of now, they are burdened, I would say, by an underlying zone that doesn't always translate to the types of things they're doing. So you have to there's an added layer of permitting through whether that's a conditional use permit. Not to say that this change will remove permitting from them, but it'll just make it clearer as to what the process is. So any questions on this one?
Nope.
All right. Go straight to low density residential. So we will spend, I think, a little bit of time, maybe not on this slide in particular, but on this topic of low density residential. So obviously our largest designation and our largest zone. So that it's not one that we're not adding or expanding it necessarily. The one thing that isn't shown on the future land use map, but that we're doing is we're talking about taking the height restriction off, that 18-foot height restriction, and going to 25, consistent with the whole LDR. Yeah, so not much is changing as far as uses go, aside from what we talked about in the 1821, and then what we'll talk about in Title 18. But it's more a how is it administered, not a what's allowed, right? So there are things we have to allow, of course, like the 2 ADUs and whatnot. But as far as density and all those things go, it's staying relatively the same. So you can go to the next slide. We'll talk about the site-specific designations. So we had one site-specific request. It is that highlighted parcel in blue there that was requested to go from highway commercial to LDR. We recommend approving this request, and we took it as an opportunity to reach out to all 4 of those properties there. So the 3 directly to the east of the highlighted property are also currently highway commercial, which is that orange color. And in talking with the property owners, we heard back from 3 of them, including our applicant. Two of them, applicant included, are obviously supportive of the change. We did not hear back from a third, but they have a residential property. And then the 4th is the property there shown still in orange. They have requested that they remain highway commercial. They have some plans for the property, at least, may not be immediate, but they purchased it with the idea of it being highway commercial. And so we are not inclined to change it. So we're going to leave them highway commercial, but are going to move forward with changing the other 3 so that the properties are conforming, so that they'll be able to pull permits and utilize their residential use to its fullest extent and potential. So any questions about what we're proposing for this site specific? No? Okay. All right, so now we can go to the next slide, and we can actually talk about how this will translate to a low density residential zoning update. So as we've been discussing kind of since the start of the comp plan, we are going to go from R48 to R49 to better align with our minor subdivision process that's going up to nine units, or 9 lots, I should say, and utilizing, we are going to use a gross density calculation to determine the max number of units. So to simplify that, what that means is that for a typical SQUIM single family development, it will yield roughly 1 additional unit per acre. So kind of, as I mentioned, it won't drastically change the landscape of things. However, by going to gross density and through some of the provisions that the state is putting out there for how land can be developed, attached housing or multifamily housing may get closer to that max density of 9 units per acre than what you would see under today's current code, where you have individual lots and where we use a net density calculation where you take out roads and things like that. The deductions, I guess you could say, for like a binding site plan or a condominium development may not be as high as what is being utilized for fee simple lots that are creating roads and things like that. So again, it's not going to result in a huge drastic change, but it may allow property owners that want to be creative to get closer to realizing a max density. So yeah, go ahead.
I just wanted to add to, the explanation that Travis was giving, is that just again reiterating that fourplexes are currently on the books to be allowed in the LDR. So we're not proposing to change that. So if you look at the diagrams here, while they may appear to look like an apartment building, they're intended to be fourplexes and as separate buildings. So this is not an apartment type. What you're going to see is what you have seen kind of pop up in small places, like the townhomes on Hendrickson, and even smaller than that. Yeah, because that's actually a different zoning district. Never mind, that's not a good example. The point is that if you think of it practically, what Travis is speaking to, that it might reach the 9 dwelling units per acre, is because of land efficiencies. And so I just want to kind of put that out there, that when you do attached units, you are going to realize land efficiencies because you're going vertical as opposed to horizontal. So I just want to note that. So like, we're not changing the type of unit that is currently on the books, which is fourplexes. It's through the conditional use permit process to give the city additional conditioning authority to ensure compatibility. And it's capped at the density, at the maximum density. And so compatibility, additional landscaping, buffering, fencing, all of those things become important considerations when you're looking at these type of applications. So
Question. You were.
I notice in the illustrations, they're sort of fictional. There's no garages.
Right.
We don't see real streets or anything. That's all.
Yeah.
Question. Is this layout, these 4 pictures, are these intended as what is possible?
These won't be shown in code. It's just
No,
for the
no.
presentation. Yeah.
But are these representation of what is possible with the code, the R49 code? You could put 1 house per acre if you so desired.
Could do 1 house per acre.
The last time we updated the comprehensive plan and the last time I asked about the zoning ordinance about 5-6 years ago when Barry was here, I was told that they could not build 1 per acre any longer. You had to, according to the code structure, you had to put multiple homes per acre.
Yeah, we can't force subdivision. So if you have an existing lot that exceeds the maximum lot size and you just want to put 1 house on it,
Right? You can
can't.
do that.
Mm-hmm. And there is a provision that says it should be laid out in a way that it doesn't prohibit future division.
Right.
So you wouldn't like put it like right in the middle so that
Right.
it can't. But that would be essentially it. So we would want it to still be laid out so that it could be. But even that is,
Because Chris did not, he wanted the code written so that you could not.
Yeah, no, we can't enforce that. Like if you've got an
Okay.
existing
Okay.
piece of property.
That was my specific question at the time, and I was told, no, you couldn't do it. And I said, even if you wanted to pay all the multiple fees that might be required for
Yeah.
4 per acre, and I was told, no, you can't do that.
Yeah,
So,
if you want to buy multiple lots and not build on them, like like that's your. I mean, hey, if you can find a piece of land and it's your dream lot and you just want to put 1 house on it, we're not going to stop them from doing that. Yeah.
although I will note, just as follow up, I think to your point, is that if you do come in on that same piece of property and you want to subdivide it, then we do have that minimum minimum density, and that again has come from Growth Management Hearing Board's decisions and all the things I'm sure Barry told you about. So if you come in for a subdivision, we need to look at that, and there can be some exceptions to it, but as a general rule of thumb, that's that 4 and that 4 to 9. But to your question and to Travis's point, if somebody owns a piece of property, someone buys a number of pieces of property and aggregates them and wants to build 1 house, they can do it with the provision, with the placement that it could be future subdivided if and when they want to, or upon, a new owner.
yeah, my point was just, I was curious about choice.
Yeah.
If that's what they choose.
Yeah, and I mean, and now with the administrative lot split, you can split it in half, right? And you don't have to meet the 4. You could just do a split right there. So there's even more choice. So
Right. Because if you had 5 and you wanted to make 4.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Alex, did you have something?
Yes. Oh, gee, that sounds unfortunate because I know of one situation of a friend. his developer very intentionally aims to develop 1 acre lots with a house that would normally cost about $500,000 to make, and then sell them for $1 million. And he says there's no end to how many he can sell if he designs the if that's his plan. So why he has absolutely no incentive to have higher density and all the rest, because he loses his easy profits. And that seems really, really sad. I think for the most part, he's looking for county land that he can do that on easier.
I mean,
And
to be
so
honest,
I thought the
yeah.
whole point of this was to, help there be some affordable housing too. And kind of sad to hear that. That's all.
And there's not that many. I mean, there are some parcels out there that would be, of that size, and maybe they're constrained by steep slopes that make development hard. But we don't get a lot of new residential building permits on these oversized lots very often in the city limits.
Okay, thank you. So I think we're ready to move on. Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess as the last kind of the little tidbit was just that again, I kind of mentioned it earlier, but that 18-foot height restriction would go away, and you would be allowed to go up to 25, consistent with what we talked about. So, yeah. And additionally, in conjunction with my Title 18 update, does come a new open space and landscaping section of code to really clear up and clarify when it is required. We're all but eliminating it for single family developments. However, because they're going to be providing front yards and things like that, developers still have the option of providing open space. But in the event of a binding site plan or a condominium multifamily project in the R48, there would be open space requirements so that we get the same amount of kind of like set aside land that you would normally see through front yards and things like that. It may be arranged differently than independent front yards and things. There may be more common congregated areas of open space. But essentially how land will develop may look different, but the overall impact in terms of number of units per acre will remain the same.
Okay.
All right, we can go to the next slide. So community mixed use. Again, there are some parcels proposed. We'll talk about there during the redesignation slide, but no major changes are being proposed to the zone itself. The updates being provided, or the updates that we're doing, will be to provide clarity more than make sweeping changes. So again, this wasn't a zone that had a lot of requests for it to be like opened up or restricted. It's working fairly well. There was actually just desire for more properties to be zoned through the CMU. So you can go to the next slide and we can talk about those ones. So we had 4 requests. The 2 on the left on this slide are currently HTLI properties. They applied to be redesignated CMU to hopefully see more market interest in their properties. The HTLI has not really built out the way that it was hoped when the zone started. So they'd like to better see what the market holds for them if the zoning was different. Specifically for different types of community retail uses as well as potentially multifamily. There was a single RC, which is the top right property there, that was proposed. It's on the west side of town, just kind of southwest of Walmart. The property owner and we would agree that this property is not really adequately sized for a large box store to come in, and so you'd be building community retail in an RC zoned property anyway. And by going to CMU, it does allow for potentially residential here. And as we talked about, we didn't really want to make a sweeping change and incorporate residential into the RC, but there was at least an appetite for having residential on the west side of town. So by redesignating this property to CMU, it could allow for residential to occur over there, or it just is more aligned with the size of the property to develop the way that it probably will. And so we recommend approving that one, and we recommend approving the other two as well. And then the last one is it's a single low density residential piece of property owned by Serenity House that was requested to become CMU to be better suited for their future development needs. It's surrounded entirely by low density residential properties that are built out with low density residential uses. So, in some instances, we would consider how do we maybe stretch the CMU down to this property. That doesn't make sense because then you'd be making other properties non-conforming. And then it's like, what's the appetite for doing a site specific here, kind of surrounded by a bunch of other low density residential? Didn't make a lot of sense. But as you'll recall from our 1821 code update, we are creating provisions for affordable housing exceptions, which they will be able to utilize in this zone to better realize their future plans without having to have it be redesignated or rezoned. So we are creating a process that they are going to hopefully be able to utilize to get what they want from what they were requesting the redesignation for. Now we just don't have to do the redesignation. So we're not recommending the redesignation because we've found another path forward for them that we're hopeful that they'll be able to utilize. Any questions on that one before we go? No? Okay. So downtown, not much being proposed here. The main updates are going to be combining the DMU1 and the DMU2 into a single zone. That's not reflected in the future land use map because the future land use map just shows the downtown districts as a whole. So you can go to the next slide. We did get one site-specific request recommendation from that highlighted property there. They own the two parcels directly across the street to the north. So they were looking to kind of have a single use that would span the two lots. And so they thought getting it redesignated to be the same zone across would be helpful. But with all the updates and things that we are looking at 1821 based on state mandates for definitions of housing types and where we can and can't prohibit them to be, the type of use that they are proposing, which is like an assisted living facility, would be allowed, and not only in the downtown districts, but also in the residential zone. So again, there was no need for the redesignation request as they've proposed it. And we've had lots of conversations with the applicant. And so they are working on some plans right now to get in for a pre-app to do what they are hoping to do under the current code without needing any redesignations. So this is another one that we don't recommend approving because we're able to accomplish it through just the zoning code. Okay, regional commercial. This is, so as we mentioned, there is one existing RC parcel that is going to go to CMU. No other changes proposed at this time for city limit properties in this region. There are some zoning changes to allow things like travel services as a use type in this zone, which is in line with some of the requests we received for the specific redesignations and is generally seen as a fit with existing uses in the zone. So you can go to the next and we'll talk about so we had one site specific to go from highway commercial, which is highlighted there. You'll probably better recognize it as the blue building when you come off of River Road. You may have noticed straight flooring has now occupied that space. So since the redesignation request came in and conversations had happened about zoning updates, they were able to find a tenant. So this is, again, just due to the size of the property, going to regional commercial doesn't make sense. There's an existing use there. It made more sense to try to address updates through zoning code to find additional uses that we could allow in the highway commercial. So we did not recommend approving a redesignation to regional commercial because we are going to just make some changes to the highway commercial zone that are going to make them be able to find tenants more easily, and they have already. So we think that's a win, and this is not one that we're recommending. So our opportunity areas, there's a slight name change there. It is going from the economic opportunity areas just to the opportunity areas, and that is mostly in line with some of the changes we are going to propose at the zoning level. Excuse me. But the two economic opportunity areas were duly named because of the 2017 Tax Cuts and Jobs Act that established opportunity zones in specific counties and cities in Washington state, where there were areas where there were tax incentives for development within certain areas of town or certain areas of the county. The opportunity area on the top there, the River Road one, actually does not even fall within the designated opportunity zone for the city of Sequim, whereas the Bell Creek OA does. However, what we are proposing through the dropping of the economic name and through future zoning updates would not prohibit somebody from still utilizing the provisions and the tax incentives established with the Tax Cuts and Jobs Acts. However, it does have a sunset of 12/31 of 2026, so they better get hot or else it'll be gone. So, yeah, anyway. And then the next slide is just, it's another kind of example of the types of uses and development that you could see in this zone. So you may notice that I've had some fun with AI creating pictures of what these places could look like. So if you see some jacked up roof lines, I know I see them too. But anyway, some of the changes we're proposing is really just more to allow market flexibility. There have been some constraints and restrictions on the property for how they're supposed to be developed, with use mix thresholds that are really restricting, like from one type of use coming in and being a primary use. It's really set up to have like kind of everything is limited to like 25%, or there's a 55% maximum commercial requirement. And we're going to just take those away and just kind of see what does the market envision for this? You know, we spent a lot of time looking at the HOVE study that was used when these zones were kind of established initially. And what we found interesting about it is residential was actually noted as probably the best use of the properties, but because of the opportunity zone designation from the state and the tax and jobs stuff, it was determined that we should try to make that happen. And so even with that tax incentive and with the restrictions in the zoning code, we still were not able to, in effect, manufacture those types of uses there. So now, taking it a step back, looking at the actual results of that study, and we're wanting to see like, okay, let's see what could happen if we remove some of those restrictions and let the market kind of decide. So we all agree this is the opportunity areas are important. They're gateways into the community. So we don't want to do this without thought. Will still take some thoughtful planning, especially the Bell Creek, as it has a significant critical area that runs through it. So there's still work to be done. It's not just going to become a free for all in these zones, but we are going to just at least see what the market can do. Any questions on this one? All right. High tech, light industrial. We've seen a couple businesses move in like the last 12 months, which is exciting. I think they're actual fits for the zone, which is good. It's not They're not square peg, round hole type uses where we're trying to stretch it. They actually, meet the zone's intent. So that is good. They're on already developed properties. So the vacant ones are still vacant, unfortunately. But we do have at least tenants in some of the existing properties. But it is still rather slow to develop. So that's why we are encouraging, or we are recommending that a couple of the HTLI properties go to CMU just to better see how the market responds. We are considering opening up the uses allowed for things like wineries, breweries with on-site consumption sales. So it's still in that kind of manufacturing wheelhouse a bit, but kind of with a different spin on it, or a different type of manufacturing in a sense, just to see, like, will the market respond to that? Can we get something here? Yeah. So, but other than that, we do, based on the market analysis and things, there is still kind of a desire to have these types of uses, but it's been a struggle to attract them. So. All right, highway commercial. So I've kind of touched on how this one relates to some other zones, but this is a designation in a zone that exists right at our major interchanges, at least at two of them, and then at our half interchange there at Simdars. We are not making a whole. There's not a lot of changes being proposed other than, again, as I mentioned in the previous slides, trying to open up the uses a little bit. It is a very niche zone that is more restricted to tourism and auto-oriented uses that have made it a bit of a challenge. So by allowing some more flexibility in the use types, so like think of some of the things that we would allow up at the Rock Plaza neighborhood retail zone. Those types of uses could be a possibility at the highway commercial zone.
Travis, question.
Yeah.
What are the areas with the orange crosses through them?
That is UGA, so urban growth area. So county property, but could someday be city property. And so the color, the shading underneath, so like on the ones on these images here, that means that they are designated on the future land use map. So if they were to be annexed, they would go to the yellow, which would be low density residential in these ones. So, yeah. All right. So we did have two highway commercial site specific recommendations where we had two properties requesting to become highway commercial. And that was, after we had stakeholder interviews with them and kind of explored what the zone updates were. They wanted to continue to move forward with them, but there was a property there next to the hotel and like the Black Bear Diner. That's the one property there on the left that wanted to just, try to be compatible with those types of uses and just see if highway commercial is more attractive to developers than the HTLI is. So we're recommending that one as it's consistent with adjacent zoning and maybe provides an opportunity to see development there. The one there on the right, which houses currently mini storage, is in our regional commercial. There was a request to have it redesignated to highway commercial as the uses seemed to better align with the size of the property and the potential area. We're not recommending that one because the uses that they were after were things like travel services, which is something that we are going to propose to be allowed in the regional commercial zone. So you don't need the highway commercial designation. They just needed the uses to better reflect what could be done there. So that's not one we're recommending, but the one on the left is one that we are. Heavy commercial warehouse. The most significant change here is that a lot of it, which is city property or PUD property, is going into public designation and public zone. So no changes really proposed. There's not a lot. As you can see, there's only 5 acres of heavy commercial warehouse, and I believe that included the properties that we're moving into public. So it's even smaller than that now, or will be. So not a lot nothing changed or nothing being proposed to be changed with this designation or this zone as of today. It'll just get the same kind of clarity update that all the zones are getting. The lifestyle district. I'm sad Eileen's not here because I know this is her favorite, but we've talked about it a lot. So this is again, not one that we're proposing any major changes to. It works the way that it was kind of intended to all those years ago. And as we get farther away from the senior lifestyle district and just embrace lifestyle, I think it'll continue to just develop in the way that it was meant to. So, yeah, there will be no more references to senior lifestyle district either. So, yeah, but nothing major here. So, neighborhood business, again, so we are kind of, we're updating it a little bit because this is another somewhat niche zone. We weren't we didn't want to eliminate it. However, we think there are better ways to do neighborhood business, and you'll see that kind of through Title 18. But as far as the zone goes, again, there has been a bit of a struggle to locate and place tenants in the NB zone. So there is going to be a little bit of a loosening of the uses allowed there. So there will be some similarities between this and the highway commercial. And we think that's appropriate because this is on Old Olympic Highway. So it's the other end of the interchange spectrum in the sense that we've got the ones directly on Highway 101, and then this one is kind of the other entry point to the city for a lot of county residents. So. Then we have the PRC. So we are not proposing any changes as far as land use designation is concerned here. We'll have more updates when we get into Title 18 to go over the work we've been doing on the PRC and as it relates to master plans and things like that. But yeah, just really trying to go for a more consistent code across the board. But as of now, no changes on the future land use map, no changes on the zoning map either. So this is one that I just want to touch on briefly. We're not going to get too in the weeds as it's fluid. So this was a staff recommendation. So kind of keep with the I don't want to call it a loss, but with the redesignation of a RC parcel to community mixed use, we've thought it appropriate to approach property owners here on the corner of Brackett and Priest Road across from Walmart to see if they had any interest in redesignating this to go to RC so that the city could potentially retain the RC properties that, were kind of losing in going to CMU. In our past conversations, it was determined that the box store intent of the RC is important to Sequim's identity, and it's been helpful in creating a strong tax base. So we wanted to ensure that is maintained and there are potentially more opportunities. So we did bring this up at a council meeting. We shared it with them, and it was our intent all along that we wouldn't forward any recommendations without getting 100% approval from the property owners. So we have started those conversations. We've given them a March 20th, I believe, deadline to get back to us. And if they are all on board with it being redesignated to RC, then we will forward that recommendation with the rest as a staff recommended redesignation. And so just as another kind of caveat, this is in the urban growth area. So it is currently a county. These are county parcels. So the zoning, if they wanted to develop right now, they could do so through county zoning. And in order to realize RC zoning and the RC designation, they would have to annex these parcels into the city. So this is kind of a preemptive redesignation that we're bringing forward. And if we get approval from the property owners, we'll continue to pursue it. But if not, then it is what it is and it stays the same. So any questions on that one?
Those properties are, they're pretty much residential right now, right?
So those 5, there's I think 2 that currently have residential uses on them. 4 of them are owned by as well. I guess 2 of them are owned by a family trust, and then 2 of them are owned by relatives of said family trust. So there's a conglomeration of 4 of the 5 parcels owned kind of under the same family, and then a 5th owner for the one that has the Robb family barn that got moved when Walmart went in. So that property is there too. So we've had conversations with the family and with the property owner there on the corner. So they are asking all the right questions and we're giving them the answers as best we can. And we will see what they decide to do. But yeah, so that's why. I mean, we would never do something without property buy-in as a staff recommended change. So we're going to wait and see what they want to do. And if they say no, then we keep going with all the other stuff. So.
Okay.
All right. So next steps, we'll if you have any questions, comments that you want to add from what we've been talking about for a while now, let us know. And then we will prepare in any additional revisions as appropriate, or we will just kind of get this thing all buttoned and cleaned up and get it ready for public release. We will make sure before going to public release, we'll give all of the site specific applicants another opportunity to withdraw. If we'll let them know like, hey, here's what we're going to recommend or not recommend. Do you want to keep moving forward? Do you want to try to see if you can get it approved even without our recommendation? And so we'll give them one last opportunity to kind of stay in or get out. And that'll happen before we go live. And then the zoning code amendments, so 17 and 1821 you've already seen, and then Title 18 is more or less completed. It's just putting it all together into one large document right now so that it can be reviewed as a whole, but that is also done. And so you will see that in April as well. So, and we are going to release or at least share the residential draft zoning code with developers at a developers forum later this month before it goes public. So,
Okay, thank you.
yeah.
Does the commission have any questions or comments? No?
All right.
Okay.
Cool.
Thank you very, very much.
No, thank you guys.
All right. Anything to add before we move on to director's report?
Other than to say I'm thankful for Travis and all the work that he's done on the land use designations. And we, have a good story for each of them and a rationale for what we're proposing. So just thank you for his good work.
Yes. Thank you, Travis. Okay. Director's report.
I do have 2 things. Okay, so this is a comment for Karen and Julianne. Your computers are programmed to be replaced. I think I talked to you, Karen, about that, and I didn't get a chance to chat with you, Julianne, but they're of an age where IT is going to replace them. My understanding from IT is that will happen in early April. So just want to let you know you'll get a new laptop. And then this, sorry, any questions on that? Okay. The second thing that I wanted to note, which maybe the city manager might want to note it, is that about a week and a half ago, the city manager has chosen me to be the permanent DCD director. So I'll be dropping the interim from my title. So thank you.
Yeah, well, thank you. I was going to ask about that.
I don't know. Anyway,
Well,
I'm glad to be here. Though. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Anything else on that, guys? I mean, I'm happy, that it's official.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Anything else for us?
No, that is it. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Does anybody have anything for good of the order? Alex?
Yes, I've noticed we're getting a lot of email advertisements for flock safety. Are other people getting those, or are they just targeting me? And as the flock automatic license plate reading company is, I guess in a strategically dangerous sort of situation as far as the national security state and surveillance and has, well, I think they try to present a good picture of how carefully they manage data that's acquired locally. It seems that if all the I imagine if I see it, then probably all city councilors and city staff are getting the same flock safety ads for like one a day or so. And so just sort of heads up if you're able to block them or something, because why should they do staff solicitation or try to get us all people to read and say, oh yeah, they're so great, whereas that.
You can pass that along to
Thank you. Thank you very
you.
much.
I took a play out of Larry's playbook and I just delete them.
Yeah.
But Alex is right. There's quite a bit of junk mail coming into us for sure. Anything else for good of the order? Yes, Karen.
I have a question for Travis. We were talking about getting hard time getting businesses in neighborhood commercial, like down by the Roundy Round. I noticed there's a sign out for a winery. Did we get a new business opening up over there?
So I'm sorry, say that. Where is it at?
Across from Hardee's in the Roundy Round Shopping Center by the gym and all that. I noticed
Oh, is it?
there's a sandwich board for a winery.
Is it so in the Rock Plaza?
Uh-huh.
It's possible. I'd have to look at some past business licenses. But yeah, that seems like it would be a good use there. I mean, if it's like similar to what the one we have downtown,
Wondered if
like
we had
Windrose with a
something
tasting room
opened
and all
up
that.
in
I
there
think that makes good
occupied.
sense to me. So they don't always have to come, they would get a business license, but if they're not doing any sort of like tenant improvements or something, sometimes we don't always see them kind of right in our face. But typically we would catch them at the business license application. So I can go back and look to make sure
Okay.
that they've gotten one.
Okay.
But yeah, no, I mean, I wouldn't, that seems like a good use over there.
And Crazy Harry's, I've had a couple of.
Oh, we have an
been asked
update.
about-
I meant to talk to you because he came in today. I don't know if he wants this public, but whatever. He is planning to open in about 4 weeks. He doesn't have a specific date, but he wants to do something on a Friday, have a soft opening with like the mayor ribbon cutting and all that, and then have like a free.
Herbs.
Thank you. And then have like reservation dinner start at 6. So it's coming. So go on his website. He'll have updates on there, he says.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Thanks for all the good work.
Thank you.
I've noticed at the corner of 3rd Avenue and Washington, so that'd be the northwest corner, there's a for rent sign for RV space and tiny home space. And I think that's for stuff on the north side of that alley.
So that would be northeast, like behind Safeway?
Yeah, this would be,
Because if it is,
it's just before. for the 101 diner.
Well,
Third, yes. Oh, it,
that's what I was thinking, because there are pre-existing parks in
yes,
that area,
in a,
and if they predate our restriction on RVs being placed in manufactured home parks, they are able to still place them.
yes,
So
and there
could
are a
be the
bunch.
case.
Yes.
Is kind of, I guess that was where I was going with that, to know, like, depending on which one it is, if it predates our restriction on RVs being placed in manufactured home parks, they are able to place RVs in there. So
Great,
that could include tiny homes.
I'm sure it meets a need
Right.
that's quite desperate for people to get affordable housing close
Sure.
by, because there's some people almost commuting from Forks every day because they can't afford to live here in construction industry or landscaping or whatever. But I was just curious that there's an existing place, and of course, and then some of those are not updated, not insulated, and they're actually very expensive for the low income people who are forced to rent there to even heat because of lack. And so it'd be great if there could be some kind of better provision for that niche, which I guess we've been exploring. Great things with a lot of energy, but that hasn't quite come up yet. So there's like exploitation in a way of very low owner investment getting quite a high return just because of the scarcity of a place for people to have shelter. Anyway, so thank you for the answer.
All right, thank you. Anything else for the good of the order? Okay, then would somebody like to make a motion to adjourn?
I move we adjourn.
Okay, can I get a second? All those in favor, please raise your hand. Okay, meeting is adjourned at 6:37.